Okay, Mr. President, you can begin when ready, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We will call to order the NIAA Special Board of Control meeting, July 30th, 2026. It is currently 9:04 a.m. The second item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone's okay with that, I'll go ahead and start that. We can all stand. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, we're moving on to the third item on the agenda. I will refer to Ms. Wonder, if you could please perform roll call.
Sure thing. Alex Woodley.
Present.
Greg Malkovich.
Here.
Ramona Esparza Strofigan.
Here, thank you.
Chad Hartley.
Here.
Jay Kenny. Colin McNaught.
Present.
Christina Brockett.
Here.
Lori Woodland. Brian Freeman. Rand Sorensen. Keith Whipperman.
Present. And Tia, Dennis is on. Dennis Holmes is on, but his audio is not working, so he is here.
Copy. Thank you for putting that on record. So Dennis Holmes is present. Miles Baldwin.
Here.
Ken Parker.
Here.
Austin Mayo. Tammy Habig. Teresa Burrows. Eric Rawling. Dave Henneman.
Here.
Eric's here, sorry.
No problem, guys. Ellen Townsend.
Here.
Xavier Anthiam.
Here.
Anna Rigsby.
She joined the wrong waiting room. She should be here soon.
I see her on camera. Sydney Howry.
Here.
Akish Chadka.
Sorry, it's Chada, but present.
Oh, sorry.
No worries.
Reading quickly. All right. Timothy Jackson.
Here.
Neil Rombardo. Bart Davis.
Here, and for the record, Ms. Woodland is also here. I believe she was on mute at the time you called her name.
Great. Thank you so much. Sean Fitzsimons.
Here.
Kate Segroy.
Here.
And myself, Tia Wonder.
President Woodley, before you begin, Sean's going to excuse himself from the meeting. He will go into the waiting room for the remainder of the meeting until such time as you call him back in.
All right, thank you, sir. Okay, so we are done with roll call. We're going to move on to number 5 on the agenda, which is public comment. Ms. Wonder, do we have any public comment?
Sorry, I had to close some doors in here. No, we do not have anyone present, and I do not have any email.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay, then we will move on to action items. We have 3 action items on today's agenda. I would like to use a flexible approach to this agenda, Mr. Rombardo, since number 6 and number 7 are closely related as it relates to finding compensation and the budget. Are you okay if we take on open 6 and 7 together?
Yes, that's fine, Mr. President. The open meeting law allows us to combine items that are related like this. We just need to, of course, as always, make sure we're talking about those budget items. So no problem.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, for everyone's
Alex, I'm not sure if you can see, but Ms. Brockett has her hand up.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that. I was going back and forth with the yes, Ms. Brockett.
I was just gonna be ready to make a motion for a flexible agenda for today, so just let me know.
This is
Thank you
Keith.
so much.
I second.
That's what I was going for. Thank you. That was gonna be my next move. Okay, thank you, Ms. Brockett. We have a first from Ms. Brockett, and who was the second? Mr. Whipperman?
Yes, sir.
And a second from Mr. Whipperman. Thank you very much. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, it's approved unanimously. So we will move on to opening items number 6 and 7. I will read them for the record. This number 6, discussion and action to amend the 26-20 compensation of an interim NIAA possible action. Number 7 states discussion and action to amend the 2026-2027 NIAA budget for the compensation of the NIAA executive director. So the first executive director and the second one is for the permanent. Providing my presentation, I don't have anything to show here on the screen unless we have, if we can have the actual budget, there it is. Thank you very much. Okay, so if we look at page 6, I try to keep this as simplistic as possible because this isn't really we're going over the entire budget. We are just trying to find, for lack of a better term, a pocket that we can address where we can find some savings or possible savings to cover the expenditure of the interim and the executive director, the new executive director. So if you'll notice on page 6, the total revenues is 2.6 million. 2,643,268 to be exact. Now on page 9, you'll notice that the total expense is the same amount. That is what we call a balanced budget. So this is the budget that we have approved. This is the budget that we are working with. So in my simplistic perspective, and looking at the two possible compensations, I'll start with the interim. The interim we have currently, I'll state for the record that one of our candidates has pulled out, and I'm only stating that I know we have that on agenda item number 8. For the purpose of this discussion, I just want to clarify that we do have one less applicant. So we only have 2 applicants. One is an internal and one is an external. I like to be conservative. I think we all have a fiduciary responsibility to be conservative with the fundings that we have for the organization. So since we have 2 different applicants from 2 different, one internal and external, I don't know that it would be appropriate or prudent for us to create 2 different compensations. Anyone that would apply for a job, we want to make sure that we're compensated the same as the next person. It's not going to be, well, since you're here, you'll get X. Since you're coming from there, you'll get Y. So in order to make it comparable and equitable for the 2 individuals, if we were to go with the internal candidate, we would be looking at an acting pay. That acting pay for this candidate would be approximately $1,275 per month. That is based on a 15% acting pay on an annual salary of $100,000. So being that the case, I think it would be appropriate and prudent that we make that same compensation offer for both candidates. Based on that, what I was total compensation for up to 3 months, let's say for the interim, would be $3,825. Let's round that up to 4,000. So we're looking at 4,000 for that interim position for a maximum of 3 months. For the executive director salary, we posted a salary of $100,000. Once again, based on fiduciary responsibilities and being prudent, regardless of the candidate that we select, I don't see us going to the top of the salary band. So what I am envisioning is a maximum of the mid salary band, which would be $175,000. We currently have in budget a base salary of $160,000, with total compensation and benefits we're looking at 3,000. This can be found on page 10 if we look at the salaries on page 10. We see that breakdown. So if we have a total compensation of 3,000, 10% of that, 10% of the 160 base would put us at 176,000, which is the mid-range of 150 to 200. And then 10% of the 233,000 would be 23,000. To keep this simple, let's say 24,000. So we would be looking at 4,000 for the interim and 24,000 for the permanent position. Does anyone have any questions before I go further? I don't see any hands. Let me sure. I know I have. Okay, everyone, I'm just gonna keep going then. Just want to make sure I don't miss anyone. I apologize.
Alex, I'm sorry, I didn't put
Okay.
my hand up. So my question on the interim piece is the person who's, if it's the internal person, it will be a 15% bump to their current salary. But if it's someone from outside, they will only get that 15% or 15% plus what the internal candidate's making. Did I maybe misunderstood that?
Right. So that is my proposal because we're looking at the cost to the organization. The cost would be the 15% total. So if I can explain this correctly, I don't think it would be appropriate two different types of compensation, if that makes sense, because we're talking about the interim position. The salary making currently is a salary for their current job. The salary that would be provided for the interim would be that 50%. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think through, like, if I'm gonna, sorry, Keith Whitman for the record, if
Yes.
I'm the external applicant, I'm only gonna get that 15% bump. The internal applicant's gonna make their full salary plus that 15%. I'm just trying to wrap my head around that. Okay, I just want to make sure I understood. Thanks, thank you,
Yes.
Alex.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And once again, as I stated, the salary that they're getting is already for a different position and a different role that they were hired under. So this is a position that either one of them is applying for. Okay, so with that being said, we'll go back to the expenses. I believe that's page 8. Yes, page 7. Let's start here. Page 7. Thank you. My past experiences in running departments and organization, possible reduction in one area, acquire or create funding for something new, you have to shift funding from one line item to another. You typically look at your top line items, most expensive line items. Our expenses are two top most expensive line items. One salary, as you'll see here, is 505,000. Ms. Whitman, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, Alex, I was just thinking if we have a person that's leaving, their salary is no longer being paid. We have the money to
Correct.
offer to an external candidate, whatever that, to match the salary of the internal candidate for those 3 months. I can't imagine anyone's going to look at this job and say for $4,000 for 3 months that they're going to take it. You see what I'm saying? Because the internal candidate would be
I see what
making
you're
their
saying.
current salary plus 4,000, and an external candidate would only be making 4,000. Is that, am I hearing that right? That's what I keep hearing.
What you're hearing is if it's 3 months, it would be $4,000 for either candidate. What you're proposing, what your state is, that since we will have salary savings from the individual leaving, that we can offer the external person more.
What I'm saying is we could offer them
that
the
entire
exact same
salary
salary that
both.
the internal candidate would be making with the bump. We would have to offer that. I mean, I don't see any internal candidate taking the job for just the 15% bonus. they would want the salary plus the 15. And maybe it's just me, maybe everyone else thinks that I'm crazy. And if everyone else thinks I'm crazy, I will lower my hand and be quiet.
No, no problem at all. We can have that discussion. Let me, I see Kate has her hand up.
Yeah,
All right, Ms. Young.
I think what we're missing is the fact that Sean, if Sean was to get that position, an internal candidate, they would be doing the executive director position and their own position. So it wouldn't be fair to give an external the same amount that Sean is doing, because they would be doing one person's job where Sean will be doing two people's jobs. So if that were the case, then you would be needing to offer Sean 100 and whatever amount on top of what he's doing as the assistant. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Groy. Mrs. Sparza, I see your hand up.
Thank you. Thank you for bearing with me. I will have my camera off, but and I will only be here for a short minute because I have to board a plane. But I do want to follow up with Mr. Whipperman. So the thing that it's actually a question for our legal counsel. Contractually, is there anything we have to be careful of so that the compensation is comparable from an external candidate, and knowing that potentially that candidate may only be there for a short time. So they would only get that equal compensation if it's the full salary and the bump of that position until we hire potentially a new executive director, which might be, of course, not that full amount. So I just want to know contractually, legally, labor laws, like would we be in a muddy area if we didn't equal the pay? Thank you.
Well, I don't, it's not as if this is a classified position where you're required to match certain pay, right? This is if we hired an outside candidate, it would be a contract for a certain amount of time. And President Woodley and I spoke about this. I'm with Vice President Malkovich. We're recommending a contract if you go with an external candidate, so we avoid PERS and things of that nature. So we can offer whatever we want to offer. We're not obligated to offer the exact same amount. It's a contract negotiation, right? So if they're willing to take it for $1, then they're willing to take it for $1. Obviously I'm being a little bombastic there, but that's how negotiations work. So it's a contracted position. So I don't see a labor law issue as far as FLSA or any of those type of laws.
Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you, Mr. Lombardo. I will go to Ms. Brockett.
Thank you, President Woodley. Christina Brockett for the record. My question is kind of going back to what Whipperman was saying with, if we are not paying an executive director, during that 3-month interim, my question, I'm going to go to a different way with this, is when we look at our budget, because we're looking at, you're looking for an additional 28,000, right? Because the budget's already balanced, and now we're looking at potentially the 4,000 plus the 24,000 for the executive director position. But if we're not paying an executive director for 3 months, did we count that into our budget calculations? Because there should be some cost savings, and I'm not sure if we need to shave off a whole 28,000 from the budget. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I was taking a conservative approach because I don't know exactly what, lack of a better term, what payout we may have with the exiting director. I don't know if we have vacation that we need to pay out or whatever else we need to pay out. Not having that information, I'm taking a conservative approach. But I do hear everyone, and I do hear the suggestion of using the salary savings, and we can do that. I just wanted to be conservative, with the hope that we may not even spend this much. But if we do go the route of saying, hey, let's pay this individual what we would normally pay the director for that month. So right now at 160, the monthly rate is 13,000 a month. So if I'm hearing correct, Mr. Whipperman, what you're suggesting is that maybe that be the compensation as opposed to the 1,300 a month, the compensation be 13,000 a month, regardless of who we select.
I don't know. I see what point you're making, Alex. I get it. It's hard when we have one internal and one external, right? We're having two very different discussions that don't work. I just imagine, and to Mr. Rambardo's point, someone could do it for $1. I agree. But if you offer someone to do this job for $4,000 for 3 months, an external candidate, I don't see that anybody looking at that realistically and saying, yes, I'll take that. Because yes, I agree with Mr. Groy as well that Sean will, if the internal candidate got this position, they'd be doing both jobs and it's additional pay. I just $4,000 for 3 months is not a reasonable dollar amount to offer an external candidate. I don't see anyone taking it. I guess that was my thought. Unfortunately, I like to Alex come with solutions, and I don't know the perfect solution to this, but I don't know that that's going to work. But just that was where my head was.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Whipperman. Mr. McNaught?
Hey, sorry. Thank you. Camera's working now. So I agree that I think we should just set a number. And then if it's an internal candidate, we will raise the current number to meet the number we set. I mean, would that be appropriate to do if we just set a number? Say we said it was $12,000 a month, and the internal candidate is making 10, then we would raise them to 12 for the time that they're doing it. That would be the difference there. Or if it was an external candidate, we would just give them the 12 as an example. Mr. Rombardo, that would be appropriate, right? Based on what I heard you say?
As far as law is concerned, sure. I think, yeah, yes.
So I think to me, that would be the most equitable thing here is that we set a number. And then if we have an internal candidate, we raise the internal's salary to that number for the period of time that they cover. That would be my opinion. What I heard you say was that the current monthly for the executive director is 13. Is that right, Alec?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. So, I mean, we could look at that. I do hear you, and I appreciate the conservativeness on the buyout. Can we figure out, Mr. Lombardo, do we know what is owed? Because the other thing I think to consider in our salary line here is that we're no longer going to be paying things like for the month, right? Medicare, healthcare, dental, like all of that expense will not be a monthly expense on the interim, right? Because I don't think we're planning to do that. I think we're just going to give a salary, right? So there's some savings in there. I'm just wondering, and we probably need to know what we owe our current executive director in a few days. Do we know that?
That's beyond, I know you directed it towards me. That's beyond me. I don't know. Alex might know that answer.
No, I don't know, but if we take into consideration the salary savings and what I am going to propose for the interim director to explore finding other fundings, we will be able to cover that.
The buyout is what you're saying.
That is correct. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so then I am pro that we get close to maybe a little bit less. Maybe we look at like a $12,000 number as the monthly salary for the interim, whether it's internal or external. And if it is internal, we just raise the current monthly to meet that number, which obviously would be a bigger savings. But if we decide we want the external person, then I think that's an appropriate number for someone to take this role. That somewhere in that range. That would be my opinion about it.
Okay. Thank you. And we'll go get into that more on item number 8. So for right now, the intent of item number 7 was to identify where we can amend the budget for that compensation. So this is good because this is information that we're going to use in number 8. So I'm going to go ahead and finish with my proposal, and then we can set that salary as I hear what you're saying, and the 12,000 does sound reasonable to me, and we can address that in item number 8 before we start the interviews, because that's where we set the compensation for the interim. In the meantime, does anyone have any questions with regards to my suggestion on the mid salary band for the permanent position? Oh, I see, Ms. Townsend. I'll get to you in a second, Ms. Townsend. I just want to get this answer first with regards to the mid pay band. That I don't assume that we would hire anyone brand new at the top of the pay band. So my thought is that we would look at the mid pay band, which is 176,000, with benefits. That puts us at around 24,000. Does anyone have any questions on that or concerns or? All right, seeing none, thank you very much. I will go to Ms. Townsend. I think you're still muted, Ellen.
To get it off mute. Hi, sorry,
Okay.
Ellen Townsend, officials liaison. I just had a question, or maybe it's already been considered in that. Should it be an internal candidate who gets that $12,000 bump? There's also salary costs associated with that. There'll be PERS and everything else with it.
So, well, I thought I had mentioned it earlier, but
Unlike the outside candidate, where that would
Correct.
probably just be a contract of, 36,000 or 12,000 a month.
Right.
Okay.
Which that's what I was explaining previously. Maybe I didn't make it clear. My proposal is that it be a 1099 type compensation because we don't want to get it. We don't have an HR department as it is, and we don't want to get into the intricacies and the difficulties and the complexities of dealing with PERS and all that other stuff. So the intent is that we would offer this as a independent contractor, and that the individual that's selected will know that they will receive a 1099 with this compensation, and they would be responsible to address that with their taxes and et cetera. Yes, Mr. Lombardo.
I might have led you astray on this. I thought when we talked about the 1099, we were only talking about the external candidate. I don't think we can 1099 the internal candidate. That would create a Nevada PERS issue because they're internal. Let me add to our discussion that we had, the three of us, in prepping for this is in at least at the Washington County School District, and this is pretty commonplace. I experienced this at Carson City. Normally, when you get TAP pay, and TAP pay just basically means you're taking on a position temporarily, right? Which would apply to an internal candidate. You normally get about a 10% increase in your salary, or you get the lowest step of the position. I know we don't really have steps with NIAA, but I just want to throw that out there for the rest of the board because that's what we discussed, and that's where I know part of your analysis was coming from. So I thought I would throw that out there as part of the discussion. I did double check that this morning. I'm currently working with Mr. Owen, our volunteer HR expert, and that is what he recommended. So just throwing that out there for the board.
Okay. Bear with me a second here. I'm trying to calculate this because I know our benefits is approximately 40%, if I'm not mistaken.
Benefits usually come in right around 33 to 40%, depending. Yeah.
Okay, so based on that, this would be my proposal then. Since 12,000 was the number that that was shared, is that if we go with the external candidate, then that compensation would be the 12,000. If we go with the internal candidate, then that compensation would be 7,200, which if you add in the 40% PERS comes out to 12,000. Does that sound right? I want to have parity for both individuals. Does that sound okay? Does anyone have any concerns or comments?
Sorry, Alex. So I don't, you're talking about for the internal candidate, right? Because the external one, we don't have, all we're doing is giving.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we would just have to add to PERS and to, that's what you're saying, Mr. Lombardo, right? We'd have to add to PERS and to salary, right? And whatever that number ends up being, Alex, you're saying is an additional, it comes to 12,000 when you take a certain amount out into PERS and then to salary. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, I understand.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all. This is a good conversation. Okay, so now I'm going to bring this to a conclusion on what my recommendation is. As we see in the expenses, the top one is a salary line item, 505,000. The second highest expense we have is for officials, and that is 420,000. Now, based on, let me see if that shows up. I think it might be page 9. Is it? Where is it? See, I had it. I was reading
I
it.
think it's right at the bottom of page 8, officials registration, oh, that's the registration. I'm sorry, Alex.
No,
Just
that's
trying to-
okay. Is it on there? It's probably higher up above because that's other expenses. So it's probably above. Yes, there it is. Yes, officials, 420,000. So what I am proposing is that the interim director, once they are selected, that they explore reducing that line item by a maximum of 20%. I'm sorry, 10%. I don't, based on the fact that we have salary savings, I don't think it'll go that high, but as a normal motions, we just put a cap on it typically. So I want them to have the ability because they may say, the interim director may find, oh no, we can in fact reduction on this line item. So I just want to create a maximum, which would provide 1,000. So that would be the motion that I would be looking for. Without us breaking into every individual line item, I think that's better for the interim and staff. They can meet with staff and see how they can address that. And then if it's not possible, which I assume they can at least find 5% reduction, but they can always come back to the board with those numbers.
Mr. President, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that necessary? Because we're going to have that money from the resignation of our director. We're going to have that money in the salaries, that line item. Do we really need to come down to the officials line item and do this? Can it all be taken from the above salaries?
Well, what we're also looking at, remember, is we are looking at the moving forward. Once we hire the new director, we are looking at an additional 23,000 for that new position.
Okay.
President Woodley, can I
Yes.
ask? Okay, so just for the purposes of item 6, right? Item 6 is talking about the interim salary, like solving that situation, right? So if you could scroll for me to page 10 here, whoever's scrolling, thank you, whoever's scrolling. So and I might be wrong, so I just want to make sure I understand. So when I read this, I focus on the executive director line, right? The total salary being 160, the retirement being 58,000. And then the addition of all the benefits gives us a total of 230,000 that we spend as an organization on the executive director, correct?
Correct.
So we do not need retirement, potentially. We do not need all of the benefits below. So if I add retirement plus the benefits below, I think I get 72,000, which is 24,000 a month for the 3-month period, which would more than cover, I think, the interim salary, whatever we set it at. So do you think we could reallocate that temporarily into its own line item that's just interim salary, or I don't know, whatever we call it, who knows? But we put all of that money into a bucket and we ignore the salary of the executive director for now. Right? We're just saving money in that regard. And then we can, on item number 7, we could explore like where that could potentially go in the long run. I agree with you that like we're going to have to look at some of these line items and figure out how to raise that 160 number. I mean, it's probably, whatever number you said, raise it to whatever number we set, plus benefits, etc. But for the purposes of item number 6, I think we have more than enough money built into the retirement savings and the benefit savings to set a salary for the executive director. Does that, am I on the right path here? Does that make?
That makes sense to me as well. My only concern is only because my past experiences is that sometimes since we are not accountants, I don't want to assume that I don't like going that close with the numbers, if that makes sense to say, because we've already said, well, we haven't said it yet, because that'll be number 8. But if we were to say 12,000 a month for the interim, then we're looking at what, 12 and 12 and 12, 36,000 right there, right? In 3 months, if it ends up being 3 months. So I just like to be, because if it's not needed, here's the great thing about it. If it's not needed, even if we ask the interim to explore reductions in any other line item, if it's not needed, then it won't happen.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I guess I just want to make sure I understand item 6. We are just trying to create a line item to have enough money for whatever compensation we set, right?
We're trying to find a line item, correct? Yes.
Yeah, so my proposal is to create a line item that is the interim executive director salary, and to take the total amount of money I just outlined from retirement and benefits and put all of that into it, which is a total of around 70,000, which I think is
year, right? For the entire year.
That would be for the entire year, yes.
Correct.
Right, and so that gives us, but that would give us $24,000 a month, which we were going to spend half of that, and we're going to not spend in the salary line, right?
Right.
So we're banking 160,000 from the salary line, and whatever we don't spend on the interim salary, so potentially 10,000 a month if that's the direction we go, whatever, right? I'm just trying to understand what we're trying to do in this specific item, which I think is create a bucket of money for the interim salary, right?
That's correct. That is correct. So, and I understand that we are in the first month of the new budget. So then that makes sense, all the numbers that we're discussing right now, because we've only used 1 month of that already. And I think, let's say, for example, the payout is 30,000. Yes, Mr. Romano.
Alex, I think this is important probably for the conversation, just so everyone knows. I did reach out to the executive director, Mr. Jackson. He did indicate that his buyout is roughly 27.5, which is about a month and a half of salary. So that also puts something that should be weighed in there. And then Mr. Davis has also a point, Bart, on the math that I think we should maybe hear from him as well.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
President Woodley, is that all right? Okay, thank you. Bart Davis and I staff, when you look at that number for Mr. Jackson and those benefits that we broke out, that 73,000 over the course of a year breaks down to a little more than 6,000 per month, because you need to divide that by 12, not just by 3, because it wouldn't just be for that period, be the entire time. It's 6,000 a month that we wouldn't be paying in those benefits to an executive director on top of what Mr. Jackson had made. If you take the total salary, which is 233, that includes all the benefits, divide that out by 12, then you're looking at 24,000 a month. Just want to make sure we're going apples to apples and orange to oranges here.
Yeah, President Woodley, if I could, the math I did here, I understand that, Mr. Davis, thank you. But the math I did here was just to take the retirement and the salary for the year, and the benefits for the year, and divide by 3 to get that 24,000 number to create, because again, we're just trying to create a bucket here of money, right?
Right.
And so a space that we can do that from, when I look at this line, is just to take that money and put it into a bucket. And we would be spending nothing out of the 160,000 that is budgeted here as salary, right? And then to the point of President Woodley, we then need to charge. Honestly, I think we need to, as a board, and figure out how this money might be moved in other line items to take the salary where we need it to go. But we also, I think, need to know exactly the mark on that salary, not just 175, but what does that total number look like went based on what we said it. So I think that's kind of a obviously that's item number 8. But yeah, so I understand the like yearly math layer of it. But the 24,000 is benefits divided by the 3 months we're going to have the interim. So again, I think President Woodley, we're looking to create a bucket here, right? That's what this is all about.
Well, what we want to do is specifically looking at the budget in case we don't have enough to cover both compensations. We want to make sure that the interim explores other line items. If it can all be done from just this salary savings or this benefit savings, then they won't need to. But we want the executive director to, or acting interim, to be prepared so that we can cover. So it's 4 months from now, we're not saying, holy moly, we can't afford the person we just hired. And it's just always best to take a conservative approach. I hope I'm making it clear that if it's not necessary, that's fine, because we're not going to do the actual work. I mean, we're the board, so we're going to say, hey, find this pot of money, look at this pot of money, so that if it's necessary, come back to us with a report, and then we can approve how you're going to move the funds around to cover the cost. Does that make sense? So, for example, what I would ask for is a motion that states for the interim director to identify savings from the benefits portion of the executive director's salary or budget item, and also explore how they would identify 10% or up to 10% of the officials line items, because that's the biggest one we have aside from salaries. And that would be more. We'll let that individual who we're paying to perform those funds. That making sense? Yes, Mr. McNaught.
So I guess I'm just a little confused about the item, because I think the agenda, the way I read the agenda item, it is asking us to amend the budget for compensation of the interim executive director.
Right. Amend the budget, which can include like what you recommended, looking at the savings in the compensation and the benefits. And I would recommend, and also look at exploring savings with a 10% reduction in officials.
It's my opinion. I'm just not comfortable making that commitment with the officials layer of it, because I don't know what that means for officials, right? What does that mean? Does that mean we're going to pay them less? Which I'm not on board with, so like, I just don't know.
Right.
I'm not super comfortable committing to the line item necessarily, but more so just like, I'd be more comfortable making some sort of motion that just like creates a line item in this budget, taking $60,000 from the retirement and benefits and calling it interim executive director salary, and just leaving it, and then we could move on to number 7, and then maybe we are gonna direct our new interim executive director to bring us a budget that has a salary of X number in this item, and then they could figure out what that looks like, and then talk to us about, like, I took 1% from here, 1% from here, whatever. I don't want to like handcuff whoever we're asking to do this. I just want to say, item for the current item, here is the amount of money we're going to give ourselves for the interim, and then the next item, I want to say, this is we're going to direct our interim to figure out how to make this budget look like 175,000, 200,000, whatever in the salary line. Does that make sense what I'm asking there? Is that?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I see what you're saying. You're saying you don't want to just look at one line item. You want them to look at more than that.
Yeah, I think our interim should bring us a recommendation based on what we are at. We say to the interim, we want the salary to be 200,000. And so tell us what all the numbers need to look like in this line to make it that. And then where is that money going to come from in order to do it? What's your proposal? That would be the way I would like to see it happen.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Townsend?
Hi, Ellen Townsend, officials liaison. Mr. Lombardo, you can tell me if I'm off base here or be quiet or whatever, but it kind of seems like, do we have the number for the actual expenses for the executive salary and retirement and benefits for 9 months? I'm just using that since we're using 3 months for the interim. Do we have the cost for that 9-month executive director based on, I think, the 200,000? Whatever that number is, with salary, retirement, the whole benefit package. Maybe Mr. Woodley, you know that. But it seems like we need that plus the interim director expense, less the salary savings from the 3 months of the executive director to really know bottom line what we need in salaries for the executive director, whether it's interim and executive director. We need that number because that'll tell us really how much we need to go back and look at the budget and make reductions, to make it balanced, whether it's officials fees, travel, whatever it might be. But it seems like we really need to know, and I know that's in the next agenda item, but it seems like they kind of are tied together here. We need to know total expenses for this executive director interim, plus the 9 months salary cost, all the benefits for that 9-month position, plus the interim, whether that's 12,000, 36,000, and then we have salary savings from that first 3 months. And that gives us a bottom line. Hey, this is what this executive director position is going to cost us this year. And then go from there to see what actually we need to reduce the budget by in other areas.
What I would say is, so let's start with the 9 months. Okay, let's assume that it's 9 months. We're going to use 3 months, which is really only a month and a half because we've already identified that the payout is going to take up about a month and a half. So what we really only have left is 10 and a half months. So if we use 9 months, for example, based on simple math of dividing the 233,000 by 12, 9 months would give us 175,000. So that's what we would have. Now, mind you, it's not withstanding the fact that the new individual is going to be making even more than that, right? Because you can't hire a new person based on 9 months salary of the previous salary. Is that making sense? Oh, the 9 months that we would have allegedly in savings would be 175,000. But once again, that has to be increased because if we hire someone at a higher, that was what we approved, a higher pay band, then we have to identify that funding. Yes, Mr. McNaught.
And I agree. I think that should be the interim's job to bring us a piece of paper that has that information on it, right? Like I think that it is in this current moment, what our job is, in my opinion, is to just find the money for the interim, and then we are going to charge our interim executive director to bring us a balanced budget based on the data that the input we give, based on the decision we make of like, we want the salary to be, like you said, President Willie, 175,000. Now, interim executive director, take that and please bring us a spreadsheet with this balanced budget and then explain to us where that's going to come from. I don't know that we are going to land anywhere in this board meeting of like figuring out the math of that, because I don't know where that cut needs to take place or where reallocation needs to take place. And I think that should be the executive director's job. President Willie, I would be ready to make a motion on item number 6 whenever you're ready.
Okay. I will do that. Colin, I will go to you, Mr. McNaught. What I ask for you to consider is as we started previously, we started with the 3 months, right? We said, hey, what's the salary, the 3-month salary of the position that's going to be vacated? So we've essentially already paid July, right? So we have 1 month off, right? Because he leaves August 1st. Then that leaves us 11 months. So let's use 2 months, for example. Let's use 2 months of that savings that you've identified in the retirement. And now, as I understand it, we've heard from our attorney that 1.5 months is paid out, is going to be paid out to the director when he leaves. You see what I'm getting at? So that, what does that leave us with? Does that leave us with half a month's pay? If that's the savings that we're going to use.
So just also kind of like doing the math with you, right? If I take the
Yeah.
two numbers I mentioned, which is
Right.
58,000 in retirement and 13,000 when you add to, and there's some other numbers here, but like roughly 13,000 associated with Medicare plus health plus gap plus dental, whatever,
Yeah.
right? Dividing both those numbers by 12 to figure out the monthly for those, right? Comes
Right.
out to 4,000 and 1,000, right? So
Okay.
if we then multiply that number by 10, right? Instead of, so we subtract 2 months, right? I would land somewhere in the range of like 50,000 that we have as a bucket of money that we could put for the executive director. Dividing that by 3 months, I think will give us the amount of money we're looking for. It gives us more money than what we're looking for an interim salary, right?
Annual salary of, we say 12,000 a month?
Yeah, so we need 36. So if I create a bucket of 50, then we have a cushion there to use, but then also maybe to use if we whatever we need to pay out. Like, I mean, the payout's probably going to come from the salary line, the whatever that was. But yeah, that my point is, like, I was just trying to figure out, I hear you, right? So if I divide it by 12 and then multiply that number, the monthly, by 10, we could create a rough bucket here of $50,000 that we can use for the interim salary. Does that sound correct?
Almost sounds, because you said it's a total of 70 divided by 12. Is that
Yeah, I was doing each one individual, so I was doing the 58 divided by 12, which gives you 48, 4,800, right?
okay?
And then and then when you add up all the numbers in the benefits area, right? It's roughly 13, and so 13 divided by 12 is like 1,100, and
Okay.
so then I took both those numbers, multiply them by 10, we get 40,000 and 10,000. So 50,000 total. And these are, and I undershot every single one of those numbers by
Right.
whatever, right? So that way, so the total bucket could be 72,000, but we're going to just allocate 50 for the interim role. And I feel like that gives us a little bit of cushion in that realm. It almost is enough money to then pay out our current executive director with
Right.
that
My
additional
only,
money.
my only concern is I don't know how 50, because I would think that the 50 is supposed to cover 10 months. So if you're only covering 3 months, that 30% shouldn't be 50. That 30% should be 30% of the 50
Yeah, so that 50 is just from the benefits though, right? So
for the whole year.
yeah, for the whole year, right? And I'm just
But
consolidating
you,
a bucket of money into that. Unless you just want to take it out of the salary line, if that feels cleaner, to just say, let's take 50,000 out of, let's take X amount of money out of the salary line,
right.
right?
But we're not going to have a whole 10 months of savings because the permanent
Correct.
position is going to come in.
Correct. And that is where our interim executive director needs to tell us where that's coming from the rest of the budget items.
Budget.
in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying. So you're saying let's just create that pot of money for now. That would be the budget augmentation, and then let the interim identify.
That's my opinion. I
Or
would be
the,
interested if other board members agree, disagree, kind of where we're landing on that. But that's my opinion. Yes.
yeah.
Keep
Does
it
anyone
for the
have
record,
any,
Colin, I like that. I like those numbers. That makes sense to me.
President Woodley, I concur with Principal McNaught, and I apologize. I'm catching a flight, so I will be exiting if Tia needs to record that time. Thank you.
no problem. Thank you, Mrs. President. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Okay, then I will open the floor for a motion.
President Woodley?
Yes.
Colin McNaught, Region 4 for the record. I'll make a motion to create a budget item called interim executive director salary for a total of $50,000 to come out of the retirement and benefits line of our current executive director line.
Keith Whipperman for the record, I second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Ms. Wonder, was that clear?
Please repeat the name of that budget item.
Yeah.
Interim executive director salary.
And did you say it was going to come out of the salary line item and the benefits?
Just the
line item?
benefits. Just the benefits.
Just the benefits?
Yep.
I heard retirement and benefits for the record.
Yeah, sorry, I was classifying both those as the same thing. I'm sorry. So yeah, out of the retirement and benefits section of the current. Thank you to you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Wonder. So we do have a first and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
Hello. Morning.
Is that an opposition?
Now, Principal Whipperman is now off mute.
That's V. Hold on. Can you call
Whipperman.
V? I'm in a meeting. I'm in another meeting. It's Dr. Moyo. Thank you. Okay, bye.
Takes a call. Who takes a call during a vote?
Okay, we have all A's and no nays. It passes unanimously. Thank you.
Sorry about that, Alex. I thought I was on mute. I apologize.
No, not a problem, Mr. Whipperman. Not a problem at all. Okay, let's move on to item number 7. And we've already discussed that at length, and I think, Mr. McNaught, you have a motion for that.
Well, the only question that I just need to know where the board is at before I make that motion, because I mean, my motion is simply going to be to direct our interim executive director to balance the budget with X as the salary. So like, where are we landing as a board in our conversation? You know, I believe it should be on the higher end of that salary. But I would be interested to hear from other board members if it's okay with you, President Woodley, before I commit to like a salary number, because I think that's the only piece missing from a motion I would make.
Absolutely. And I will just reiterate, and I think I saw hands up, Mr. Hartley, I'll get to you in a second. But just to remind everyone, what I recommended was mid-range, which was a total of 175 plus benefits. I don't think it would be prudent for us to hire anyone at the top of any salary range. So that was what I had suggested, was 175. Mr. Hartley?
Thank you, President Woodley. Chad Hartley for the record. If we're going to direct the interim director to come back with a proposal of what this looks like, could we simply just ask them to give us multiple proposals at each salary level and decide what that number looks like at a later date based on what the interim director and staff feel is appropriate in terms of how to handle it with the budget?
Absolutely. As I understood it from fellow board members, is that we did not want to hog tie the interim with a specific line item and give them the liberty to look at multiple options. So that was discussed, and I believe that is it seems like the consensus. We haven't heard any opposition to that idea, so I do believe that that's what has been discussed. Mr. McNaught?
Yeah, I agree with Member Hartley. Welcome, by the way, sir. I don't know, we haven't met in person yet, but welcome. So if you're good with the President Woodley, I think I could craft a motion based on that.
Yes, please do.
Okay, so I would make a motion to direct our interim executive director to, at a later board meeting, bring us a balanced budget with multiple options of executive director salary within the range we've set of 150 to 200. Is that clear?
That is very clear. Ms. Wonder, was that clear?
I would second.
Okay. We have a first. The motion was set on the floor by Mr. McNaught. The motion has been seconded by Mr. Hartley. And Ms. Wonder says we're okay. We're good to go with that motion. So I'm going out for a vote. See no hands up. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, that passes unanimously. Thank you very much. And we will go on to item number 8. Okay, we fortunately we did have some of this discussion. I will read it for the record. Item number 8 is the discussion and action to appoint an interim executive director from the applicants received, Mr. Emilio Estevez Jr., Mr. Jerry A. Hughes, and Mr. Sean Fitzsimmons, and set the compensation for the interim NIAA executive director. This is for possible action. I will state for the record and inform the board that Mr. Hughes has pulled out of I think he had another commitment today, and he sent an email stating he wished us good luck on selecting an individual. I also understand it that he expressed that he was not aware that we had an internal candidate, and that based on that he was not interested in applying if we did have an internal candidate. And he also did state that he was willing to do it for no compensation. Mr. Hughes was a former director for executive director for NIAA, and his statement was, I believe that I owe a lot to the organization and would have done it for no compensation. So we appreciate Mr. Hughes for his generosity and for his application, but we also understand if he has other commitments or that he did in fact withdraw his name. His name is on the record because we already had sent out the notice, but he did have another commitment and he did share that information. Okay, so with that, I'm going to open it to the floor. I think we've had the discussion about the compensation. We are going to have 2 individuals. Before we have those individuals do the interview, we do have 3 questions, and I did reach out to 2 board members. I didn't want to make this a long interview process. Trust me, we'll all have the opportunity when we hire the executive director. Since this is an interim, we came up with 3 questions with the intent to have 1 question from a representative from the north, the south, and the rurals. So Mr. McNaught and Mr. Malkovich will ask the first 2 questions, and I will ask the third. I believe between the 3 of us, we've covered those areas. Mr. McNaught, Mr. Malkovich, I hope you did receive my email. Okay, great. So they will start, but before we go there, I'm seeking a motion to set the compensation for this interim. See, just to remind everyone, the discussion that we had was 12,000 a month. If I remind, please correct me if I'm wrong, but the total of a 12,000, if it is the internal, it would be 7,200 with the 4,800 going towards their benefits, PERS, et cetera. It would be a 12,000. That was the discussion we had, but I am seeing that Mr. McNaught does have his hand up, so I will go to him.
Just a quick question here. Did the 3rd candidate officially withdraw, or are they just unable to make it today?
Mr. Romano?
Yeah, they officially withdrew his exact, well, I'm going to paraphrase, so I won't say his exact statement, but it was something to the effect of, first, let me go back. President Woodley indicated he's in Alaska, and he said he wasn't going to be able to make the interview. I told him that I didn't feel comfortable taking him off the list. It wasn't my decision to make, so I would leave it on. He was cool with that, or excuse me, he was comfortable with that. He then looked at the agenda and he said, oh, I didn't realize there was an internal candidate. I believe it should go to an internal candidate, so I'm withdrawing my name. So that was his reasoning for withdrawing his name.
All right, thank you. I'll make a motion to set the interim executive director monthly expense at $12,000.
Thank you for that motion, Mr. McNaught. I appreciate the intricacy, the exact wording you use. Thank you. That helps us, that covers us. I'm looking for a second, please.
Keith Whipperman for the record, I second.
All right, we have a first and a second on this motion. I see no hands up. I'm seeking a vote. All those in favor? Yes, sir.
Woodley, I'm sorry, if I could just clarify, I just want to make sure I'm clear. When I said expense, but I also just want to make sure we are setting is it this, like, so if the internal candidate is making 8, they would then move to 12, right? Or are you saying that we would take 12 and put a certain amount into salary and a certain amount into benefits. Because what I'm proposing is that the cap becomes 12, right? So whatever it is, whether they're at 0, they go to 12, or if they're at 8, they bump to 12, and then we use what we need to balance the PERS, and maybe there's a savings in that situation. That's what I'm proposing.
Can you, I see what you're saying, but you will have to state it in a clear fashion for the record.
Yeah, I'm
Because
sorry.
essentially, no,
yes.
that's fine. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's.
Let me amend my motion, please. So I would like to make a motion to set the interim executive director's salary at $12,000, not to exceed a total expense of $12,000 a month. Is that clear?
Yes.
So the salary would be 12. We won't exceed 12. So if it's 0, it'll go to 12. If it's not 0, it'll go from 8 to 12, a little bit into PERS, and we might have a cost savings, but we will not exceed $12,000 a month as an expense or a salary.
Makes sense.
Mr. Lombardo, is that clear?
I think it's clear. Let me just make sure I'm capturing it correctly, Mr. McNaught. So I think I saw in the last budget sheet that it said that Sean was roughly at 102,000. So you're proposing that he would make 114,000, and then however PERS and whatever however PERS works, and however benefits work. But his PERS would be based off the salary of 114. That's the additional 12,000 since he was at 102. If it goes to the outside candidate, then that outside candidate would be a 1099 employee. We would do a contract, and he would get 12,000, and it's up to him to figure out his taxes, et cetera, with his accountant. Do I understand? If that's your intent, that's what I understand.
So the second part, yes. So the salary being 12,000. I'm saying that if an internal candidate who is making currently per month $8,000, then we would raise that number to 12,000, which would be, what's that? That's $4,000 from the bucket of 12. And then we would use some money to bring PERS up to the appropriate amount of whatever that monthly is. So I don't know, because in your scenario, what you just described to me would cost more than 12,000, right? Because it would be 12,000 to raise the salary plus whatever we need for PERS. I'm setting a cap at 12,000 of an expense per month and a cap at the salary at 12,000.
I understand now. Thank you for clarifying. I think the motion, with that clarification, I think the motion makes sense. Or the motion is clear. Thank you.
Mr. Lombardo, thank you, Mr. McNaught. And I did see Ms. Wonder gave a thumbs up on that motion, so she understood it as well. So we do have a first with your clarified motion. The second from Mr. Whipperman, do you in agreement with the clarification of the motion?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, do you need me to
was
re-clarify? I am in agreement with the motion as restated, yes. For a
Thank you.
second.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. McNaught, we're okay. I know you had to take that call real quick.
Yeah, sorry, President Woodley, just to clarify, Mr. Hartley was my second, I think. So I just, didn't
sorry,
he
you were right.
second that?
You are correct. Yes, I'm sorry, Mr. Hartley.
No, I believe Mr. Whipperman was the second for the salary motion.
Get it together.
Oh, sorry. I swear it was you. Okay, I thought we were doing this north-south thing right now. Never mind.
The previous item.
Okay, so motion and
Okay, thank you, Ms. Wonder. So we do have a first and a second on the floor. I'm seeking the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Sorry, President Woodley, this is Christina Brackett. I just had a question. I didn't know if I needed to ask that before the vote or right after the vote.
No, please go ahead, Ms. Brackett.
Okay, just to, I'm just thinking about seeing if there is wiggle room within this. If it was the internal candidate, would there be a possibility where if the internal candidate chooses, they could just receive that bump without having it PERS sensitive? So in the district, we do have pieces in place where you can have some extra compensation that are not PERS sensitive. So then you don't have to worry about the extra benefits costs. Does that make sense? And I don't know, maybe that's more of a question for legal, and maybe that's just later on. I was just wondering if that would leave this for that.
And I understand your point, Ms. Brockett. I think just to minimize any difficulties with this whole situation, because it seems like we have enough complexities as it is, I would keep it to the compensation without any options for the employee, but rather here's the compensation. You're applying for this interim, and this is the compensation that's set forward in this vote. So we'll just keep it simple.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so just to clarify, we'll go back to the motion. We had a first and a second, and we did have all votes for yay. Are there any in opposition? Okay, seeing none, this passes unanimously. Thank you, everyone. All right, now we will start the second part of item number 8, which is to hear from our applicants. I would like to give them the opportunity to provide an opening statement, and then we can go into the questions, the 3 questions. Just because I want to keep things, we're already going into an hour and 15 minutes, and I do want to keep this, I don't want this to turn into a big, huge job application, because we're all going to have that experience in the next couple of months. We're going to get that opportunity. So I want to make this as simple as we can for all of us. So I think that the 3 questions should suffice, and then we can deliberate as a board and make that decision. Does anyone have any questions? All right, seeing no hands, let's go ahead and start with our first candidate. We'll provide them, I will greet them, provide them an opportunity to provide an opening statement, and then we'll go into the questions, starting with Mr. McNaught. Okay, Mr. Davis, I think we're ready for our first candidate, I guess.
And that would be Mr. Estevez or Mr. Fitzsimons. Which one would you like me to admit first?
Let's go ahead with Mr. Estevez, please.
Okay, please give him just a moment to get into the room and to get connected. Mr. Estevez, are you with us? And can you hear us?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I could hear you clearly. Thank you. Good morning.
Morning, Mr. Estevez. My name is Alex Woodley. I'm sure you can see my initial on the screen. I apologize. My camera is not working. I am the chair for this board, so I want to welcome you and express our gratitude for you applying for this interim role. We are going to provide you with an opportunity to give us your opening statement so that we can get to know something about you. We all have your resume and the information you've shared. It's been shared with everyone, and it's in the packet, in the public packet that's available to the public. So we will give you 3 minutes. And then after that, after you have made your statement, then we will provide you with 3 questions. You will hear 3 questions from 3 different board members. So you can provide the answers to the best of your ability, and we will not have any time limit on that. The only time limit will be on your 3 minutes for your opening statement. And then at the end of those 3 questions, you will have an opportunity for any closing statements you may have. Does that sound okay?
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. First of all, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here this morning in this interim executive director position. Real quickly, I was born in the Dominican Republic. I immigrated to the United States to New York City when I was 4 years old with my family. I grew up in, as you probably know, one of the most diverse cities in the world, which gave me ample opportunity to deal from a young age with different cultures, different people, and it was a great time. I followed that up with going to a military high school, a Sound Military Academy, which emphasized in my character, integrity, leadership at a young age. After graduating from high school, I joined the Marine Corps, where I served for 23 years. I'm not going to go into all the all the things I did in the Marine Corps, but what I'm mostly proud is my leadership ability. In the Marine Corps, I learned to lead more, to make young Marines leaders, the Marine Corps, other than the other service, so different than the other service, with all respect to them, is that every Marine is a leader, every Marine is a rifleman. So that's our policy. And team spirit is acumen in our leadership styles. From there, when I retired after 9/11, I went into DHS. I ran the TSA in the Virgin Islands. I was responsible for the federal security of all of the both airports, St. Thomas and Croix, and it gave me another area to expand my leadership. I started to understand the political part of dealing with the governor and different people other than, in the military. From there, I went to the State Department where I worked overseas in Egypt. I've lived in the different parts of the world, as in with the states here, within the states. And in 2023, I retired, um, and it brought me here to Vegas. So I'm here kind of bored, thinking that I should do something. So I saw this interim thing. I said, hey, that's a fun thing to do. I think it involves what I like. I have always enjoyed mentoring young people. I believe our future is with the young people. So the NIAA, as I looked into it, I didn't know what it was, excited me because it will give me a way to help young athletes, academic athletes in the state of Nevada and be part of that program. I believe athletics builds character, discipline, and if if you do it right, as far as coaching and mentoring young people, it's a perfect way to show sportsmanship and how you should treat others. Winning is great, but losing teaches you a lot. So in a nutshell, and I don't want to take a lot of your time, I know you've been here for almost an hour, but my acumen that I bring is team spirit, leadership, and the ability to be able to communicate with people and with the team.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Estevez. We appreciate that. We are over 3 minutes. Thank you for that. So we will go ahead and move forward with our 3 questions. And the first question will be provided by our board member, Mr. McNaught.
Good morning, sir. How are you? Colin McNaught, from Region 4 in Las Vegas. So my question for you is, so you understand that this is an interim role for, anywhere from 1 to 3 months. Why do you want to take this on?
Oh, first of all, as I said in my opening statement, I am refreshed. I am bored. My wife went back to work after so many years. She works for the state of Nevada, and I thought it would be a perfect thing. I love sports. I spend the afternoons watching all my baseball teams, and then I go into football, basketball. I follow and supported my 2 sons as a single dad in Culver City, California. When they play sports, I mentor them and some of their teammates and friends. I follow my grandsons in New York where they went to the championship, the regional championship, and play football. It's a short time. I think it's a good time to keep the NIAA steady while a permanent position is found, and to show that I could still do it. It's another challenge for me. I love challenges, and like I said, I'm ready. I bring team spirit. I bring communication, and the most important thing I think I would bring to this position is that I listen. I'm mature not only physically but professionally and emotionally. Where listening and communicating is the top item for me in any organization.
Thank you, sir.
Right, outstanding. Thank you, Mr. McNaught. Thank you, Mr. Estevez. The next person that will ask you the next question is Mr. Malkovich.
Good morning, Greg Malkovich. So the question is pretty simple. How are you going to approach this position?
Hello, Mr. Malkovich, and thank you for the question. The first thing I've learned as a leader, every organization has a different mission, but leadership is transferable. the first thing I would do is learn, follow the staff. I'm sure the staff at the NIAA has a lot of organizational knowledge, expertise. Listen to them. I would meet with the board. I understand the board is the final say. But learn. I already started. I put together an organizational chart for myself, how things would work. So that's how I would do it. I would definitely listen, meet everybody, meet the school principals, athletic directors, coaches, referees, see what they like, what they don't like. Get all that information. I'd be a sponge, and then after I get everything, look at the bylaws, regulations, state policies, and if things ain't broken, there was an old senator who said this back in the 80s. He said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So that's my philosophy. But I would like to keep the NIA going strong, giving the service that the people deserve, the stakeholders deserve, and providing the board members with actual facts and up-to-date information so that the board members could make good, informed decisions. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Malkovich. Mr. Estevez, this is Alex Woodley, and I will provide you with the last question. I feel compelled to make a statement or disclosure. Although I too am Dominican and I too am a Marine, we do not know each other.
Semper Fi.
Or die. Okay, the last question. Can just get my paperwork here. What is your plan entering this position and over the next 2 months?
Oh, thank you for that question. Like I said in my previous answer, the first thing is meeting everybody, listening, find out what the policies, what the strategic plan hasn't been working. Try to hold that steady while I get all the information. And, I don't like to make changes just for the sake of changes. If things are working, I would like to hold on to that and just move it along. At the end of the day, I would consider my tenure, if selected as the interim executive director, is if we've done the same or better to provide our stakeholders with the services that we are given to uphold. And again, if the board gets the information from me that they need in a timely fashion to make timely and good decisions, I would consider that a good tenure for me and a successful one. Does that answer your question?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for participating. We've reached our 3 questions. I am going to give you 2 minutes for a closing statement. Anything you want to share? 2 minutes will go by pretty quickly, so I might interrupt you if you're going on, but I do want to give you an opportunity to provide a closing statement.
Okay, real quickly, in a nutshell, I would bring to this position leadership, team acumen, and most of all, respect. Respect the staff, respect the board, respect the stakeholders. Humility. I've come to understand that, especially in the State Department, working with so many different diplomatic venues, that if you're honest, people see that no matter what you say. And if people buy into the mission, especially my staff or whoever else, the mission accomplishment becomes easier because everybody believes in it. Everybody works together as a team. And that's the greatest thing, is when you could get the machine working as a team together on the same track. We're all humans. We all have a little bit of differences. So listen, communicate. When you disagree with somebody, respectfully bring your opinions up. But at the end of the day, the board makes a decision, and I promise I will follow that to the utmost. And thank you again for the opportunity.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Estevez. We appreciate it. Thank you for your time and thank you for applying. We are extremely grateful. Mr. Davis, we will go ahead and allow Mr. Estevez to go out and then we'll bring Mr. Fitzsimmons, and we'll leave Mr. Estevez there and then communicate with both at the end. Okay, we'll do that then. Thank you very much.
Mr. Fitzsimons, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. And thank you for getting me out of the darkness.
President
All right.
Woodley?
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Mr. Fitzsimons, this is President Alex Woodley. We are going to provide you with an opportunity to have an opening statement of 3 minutes. You will have a closing statement opportunity for 2 minutes, and you will be asked 3 questions. Before we start, I just want to express our gratitude for you stepping up to apply for this role. We're extremely grateful to you for doing so. You will hear the 3 questions from representatives of our 3 major areas, which is the North, the South, and the rurals. And we will start the questioning with Mr. McNaught, then Mr. Malkovich, and then I will provide you with the last question. So, having expressed all that information to you, I will open the floor for you to provide an opening statement.
Okay, everybody can hear me okay? I appreciate the opportunity, and I realize you guys have now been in it for an hour and a half, so I'll be brief, but I just want to thank everyone for allowing me to be a part of this process and for the meeting today. I guess my opening statement, I've crafted, I call it my 1-minute elevator pitch, so I probably won't take up your 3 minutes. So my motivations for serving as the interim executive director for this role when I originally put in for it was basically to keep the smooth transition of power with our executive director, Mr. Jackson, resigning and leaving. I felt that my main motivation was, only being in the association for a year now, I've felt I've gained a pretty good, strong understanding of the operations of schools. I want the board to know that yes, before I was fully hired by the NIAA, I was a board liaison for 5 years. I've worked several NIAA events before I was employed full-time by the NIAA. And by no means am I an expert, but I'm willing to keep learning. My goal wasn't to pursue the permanent position at this time. It was simply to keep things running smoothly, like I said, while the board conducts its search. I feel I can provide or help provide steady leadership, support our staff that they greatly need, and ensure the day-to-day responsibilities get done without any more disruptions. And I guess in closing, as a lifelong Nevadan, I care deeply about the mission of the NIAA, the student athletes that we serve, and I'm willing to step in, help steady the ship, and keep us moving in the positive direction until the next executive director is appointed. And that's my opening statement. You have my resume there. It may not be as flashy as other candidates, but like I said, I'm willing to do the work. On a personal note, I'm working towards my certified master's athletic administration certificate. I should have that by the end of August. I know certain board members in the past have asked if we'd had CAAs and CMAAs, and so working towards that as well. So that's why it's on the resume as August of 26. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Colin McNaught, Region 4, representing Las Vegas down here. And so sorry, I said that to the other candidate, so I feel like I have to say that here as well. So my question is, you understand that this is an interim role for anywhere from 1 to 3 months. Why do you want to take this on?
Well, I think I mentioned, thanks, Colin, and thanks for the question. Like I said in the opening statement, it's, a lot of people think it might be crazy to take something on, especially where we're at in this transitional time. But I want to take it on because, again, I believe in the mission of the NIAA. I want to keep things moving. I feel we have a great team intact right now, currently with the NIAA staff. I feel like I have the experience of what a board looks like and how a healthy board should function. And like I just was willing to put my name in the hat to eliminate the knowledge transfer if we were to, again, when I put in, I had no idea who was putting in. So I wanted to, I guess, eliminate the knowledge transfer if the board were to hire an external candidate. I feel that there'd be a huge knowledge transfer of us learning from him or her and him and her learning from us. And then again, we'd also be getting an executive director in a couple months as well. So again, I think it just boils down to continuity and familiarity and willing to put in the extra work along with doing my current job with the NIAA and handle the interim job. I know won't be smooth sailing, but I figured I'd put in to keep the ship afloat, if you will.
Thank you. Greg Malkovich here. How are you going to approach this position?
Well, I think I would approach it with, first of all, with some positivity. I think that I'd approach it by, whatever the board request, if I'm needed to bring anything to the board in the short time if chosen as the interim, I'd want to continue maintaining the positive relationships that the NIAA and the board have built around the state. I would also want to create new relationships that the NIAA probably hasn't had in the past. I believe that the team intact it is already stable, and so coming in, I don't think I would reinvent the wheel. I mean, if selected, I'd only be the interim, but I do understand it comes with great responsibility as far as being the face of the NIAA, and so I guess I'd approach it like any other new job, Mr. Malkovich, as far as what needs to be done, what we need to be preparing for, and how can we get through this transitional moment before we hire an executive director.
All right, thank you. I will give you the last question. What is your plan entering this position and over the next 2 months?
Okay, great question, Board President. I appreciate that. Well, I guess my plan would be to steady the ship, but I want the board members to know, you know what you're getting with me. I'm a recently empty nester, so I have all the time in the world now to be flexible and to be all in. I have no plans to leave the NIAA at any point, no plans of retirement anytime soon. I guess these next 2 months are going to be crucial as we start up fall sports on our end as far as the NIAA staff, and as we continue to work with our vendors, continue to look at budget revenue, look at the items that are most pressing for the board. Again, I mentioned to continue to build the relationships that we had and to create new ones. And I guess that, people may look at me as saying, you've only had 1 year as a paid employee at the NIAA. Well, I mean, you can't learn everything in 1 year. And I do understand that. You can't be a principal for 1 year and see everything, or a head football coach for 1 year and see everything. So I do want to say that for those first 2 months, I'd be excited and willing to put in the work as mentioned, but also to support our staff, our member schools, and our board with anything that they may need, and continue the mission of the NIAA. I firmly believe in it.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Fitzsimmons. Those are the 3 questions that we have. So what I'd like to do is give you an opportunity to provide a closing statement, anything you want to share independently from the questions. This is a shorter time frame. You have 2 minutes, and it can go by really quick. So if you go over the 2 minutes, I'll let you know.
Thank you. And Mr. Woodley, my last name is pronounced Fitzsimons, for the record. I appreciate that. I guess I do have one question. If I were to accept this role, if offered, does that put my current job status with the NIAA in jeopardy as the new executive director is named? That's something maybe for the board to discuss when I'm not in the room, but that is one concern I have. As far as closing statement, again, you know what you're getting with me. I'm a people person. I believe fully in developing relationships with everyone I know. From around the state, from the Clark County School District to the Washoe County School District to our rurals, to different leagues, to different, I know just about everybody. Again, I've had 1 year in as a staff member, and in that time, I've grown my network even, exponentially as far as getting to know people even further around the state. And so, I guess what I'm trying to say in my last statement here is I'm not tied to any school district or any member schools. I'm here for everyone, and I fully would like the board to support that.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Fitzsimons. I pronounced that. I want to address the question that you asked initially, which, if I remember correctly, was your concern. You had concern if your current employment would be jeopardized by serving in this interim role. And I can state on the record that absolutely not. So we, if anything, we deeply appreciate you stepping up and applying for this role. It is something that we need, and we are very grateful for you applying and giving us your time. I think you have some traveling that you have to do or are in the process of for NIAA, if I remember correctly.
Yes, yes, I asked the question, President, because I mean, I don't, I wouldn't want the new executive director coming in and then all of a sudden I'm bumped out of position, but I thank you for that clarification. And yes, as soon as this meeting is over, I'm traveling to the beautiful city of Fallon, Nevada to help set up with the Summer Institute and to conduct all of our preseason athletic director meetings for the North. As Bart and Kate and Tim and other staff members, Alan and Tia will tell you, we were all doing that at Rancho High School last weekend, and this weekend I'll be in Fallon, Nevada. So
Thank you for your service. All right, well, thank you, sir. We are going to deliberate. Mr. Davis is going to, and hopefully we won't take up too much more of your time so we can get out of here and get on the road.
no problem. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you, Mr. Davis. I want to go ahead and open the floor for a discussion and deliberation. Just feel free to share your, anyone share your impression and we can move forward. I think what we'll probably do is go with two different, since we only have two candidates, I don't think we need to write down anything. We can just do two separate votes and go from there. Does anyone want to share any thoughts? All right, I'm not seeing any hands. I think I'm just going to go ahead and let's get it. Let's put it out there. Let's take care of business. Mr. McNaught.
Hey, thank you. So, I mean, my just general concern, honestly, with both is the experience. I know that Mr. Simons has been in the role for, a period of time. But especially what we're asking for, we're looking for someone who's going to zoom in on our budget, right? And produce that. And so the experience of balancing a budget like this is concerning to me. So I don't really know what that looks like. I guess my question to maybe legal is there an option C that we can do if we wanted to? And so I guess what I'm wondering
you could not appoint. I mean, you could just not appoint anyone but this is the only thing on the agenda is these two gentlemen as of right now. So your option is
fair enough. So it wouldn't be appropriate to authorize a staff member to just make executive decisions if needed. Would that be appropriate or no? Would that be? You're muted, Neil. Still muted.
Yeah, you're still muted. We can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Let me think about this for a minute while you take some more questions from the other members.
Okay, so I'm just throwing out there that I wonder if there's just an option here. I would rather authorize like a Kate to make executive decisions and give us the budget answer in the interim, to be honest. But that's just my.
Could I make a comment?
Oh, I just was finishing mine. Sorry. Yeah, that's just my opinion about it. But and I'd be interested in what legal. I mean, if legal says we can't do it, so be it. But I just wanted to throw that out there. Again, my concern is just in the experience in both realms. Especially we are looking for that budget focus here, and I just don't see that experience in both cases. And I would actually think that Mr. Groy might be able to do that pretty well. So that's just my opinion.
Okay. Ms. Woodland.
Yes, Lori Woodland, Region 3. Aren't we going back to our last meeting? Didn't we discuss this? That,
yes.
Why couldn't we just let the staff take care of things? Why do we even need an interim director? And we all voted that we needed an interim director. And now Mr. McNulty wants to go back to the very beginning again and just say, oh, let's appoint a staff member. To me, that just doesn't make sense. We've got two applicants. And that was a decision we made several weeks ago. And I just think we're beating a dead horse, is what we're doing. We just need to go ahead and make this decision on who we want to be our interim director with the candidates that we have.
Thank you, Ms. Woodland. I agree. Ms. Risby, I'll be with you in a second. I see our attorney has his hand up. Yes, Mr. Rombardo?
Yeah, thanks, President Woodley. I do want to answer Mr. McNaugh's question in fairness. I think if you chose not to appoint, that would be how it would just fall to the staff to keep doing their jobs. No one would take over the executive role. But you either have to appoint one of these two or not appoint at all. That's the way the agenda title is written. So I don't think you could say, hey, I want staff member A to take over.
All right, I appreciate that clarification. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Rombardo. Ms. Rigsby?
Anna Rigsby for the record. I personally think with the information we were given and the time frame that these people have, it would be wise to choose the internal hire just because the learning curve with the time frame, like he's going to be need teaching with all of the roles, all of the NIAA, and everything. To be honest, it didn't seem like he had a higher understanding of what the NIAA was about. So just with the time frame taken into account, I would say Mr. Fitzsimmons would be the better candidate in that area.
All right, thank you, Ms. Rigsby. I'm going to go ahead and share mine because I don't see any hands up. From my perspective, as a board member, just a fellow board member, what I see here are two individuals, one internal, one external. If we're looking at experience, obviously the internal has more. If we're looking at knowing where things are and where to find things, and as he stated in the response to his question, I'm getting ready for the fall sports. That's exactly what I want to hear. Yeah, that's what we're doing. That's what your plan is for the next month. But also specifically, as signatures and the authority and the access to representing NIAA, I just think it's so much easier to have that go through an internal person as opposed to having to go do a background check for a temporary individual, giving them, looking at, do we give them access to the bank accounts? Do we give them access to systems, software, et cetera, access to the front doors, for crying out loud. I just believe that there's a lot less work and a smoother transition with an internal candidate. So that's my 2 cents.
President Woodley, Lori Woodland again, Region 3. I agree with you there. And I also think that, Mr. McNulty talked about no budget experience. We don't know if either candidate has budget experience because the 3 questions didn't involve anything relative to budget. And those 2 candidates didn't know that we had previously talked only budget. And so it's not fair to them that we didn't ask a question relative to his concern.
Thank you, Ms. Woodland. Okay, yeah, we are looking at almost 2 hours now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make okay, I see it. We had a text from Ms. Townsend stated that she's a budget analyst for the state budget office and can assist with budgeting. And we do still have all the other staff members in the office. So let's not downplay their roles either. So I'm going to go ahead and throw 2 motions out there. And I will make the motion actually, because I want to move this along. So my first motion will be for the board to select Mr. Estevez as the interim executive director. I'm looking for a second.
I'll second it. Lori Woodland for the record.
Thank you, and Alex will leave first. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Nay. It seems like
Wait, Mr. Woodley, what was the motion? What was the name that was presented?
Emilio Estevez to
Oh,
select.
I'm sorry. I misunderstood you. I thought you said Mr. Fitzsimmons. I misunderstood you.
Not a problem. Would you like to withdraw your second?
Yes, I'd like to withdraw my second on that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, then that will be a moot point then. So we have a first, which is my motion. Do I have a second? Seeing none, this motion dies. I will bring a second motion to the table.
Hey, President Woodley, let me just jump in for half a second here just to clarify the
please.
record. Yeah, so what happened was there was a motion made by President Woodley. His phone did cut out. I think Member Woodland did not hear the name correctly, and therefore she withdrew her second. So the previous vote, it's as if it never occurred. It was revoked because there was no second to have the motion move forward. So that's just for the record for open meeting law purposes. So now we'll move on to President Woodley's second motion.
Thank you, Mr. Lombardo. Thank you for setting the record straight. My motion is for the selection of Mr. Fitzsimons as our interim executive director. I am seeking a second.
Greg Malkovich, I'll second.
Mr. Malkovich is my second. We have a first and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed?
That would be nay.
We have one opposition, Mr. McNutt, for the record. The motion passes with one opposition. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Mr. Davis, let me see how we're going to do this. Are we going to inform the candidate right now? Do we, let me see, I apologize. I'm just trying to look at the agenda.
President Woodley, you can bring Mr. Fitzsimons in and congratulate him. It's my understanding that Mr. Estevez logged off already, but I will be happy to send an email on the board's behalf to Mr. Estevez, thanking him for his efforts and that the board chose to go to a different direction.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rombato. So, Mr. Davis, can you please re-invite Mr. Fitzsimons? Trying to make sure I get that correct.
Mr. Fitzsimons, can you hear me? I'm going to try again. Mr. Fitzsimons, can you hear me? If you could unmute, please, sir.
You're still muted.
Hello, sorry, my dogs are barking. Hello, I'm here.
All right, Mr. Fitzsimons, I wanted to congratulate you. You have been selected by the board to be our interim executive director. Congratulations, and thank you very much for applying. We want you to inform you that we do have a compensation not to exceed a total of $12,000 per month. You will get the details from staff because it does include your PERS as well. So congratulations and welcome, and we look forward to working with you in this new role in the next 2 months. Hopefully it'll be 2, but if necessary, hopefully we'll have 3. So, well, we hope that it's only 2, but if necessary, it could be up to 3. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you to you, President. Thank you to the NIAA staff. Thank you to the board. Thank you to the liaisons. I'll dig in and I won't let you down. I promise that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, so we will move on to the next item on the agenda, which is public comment number 9.
This time provides an opportunity for citizens to address the board about any matter not on the agenda. Items raised during this portion of the agenda cannot be deliberated or acted upon until notice procedures of the open meeting law have been complied with. Should a member of the public wish to speak on a matter not listed on the agenda, it is asked that said person please complete a yellow public comment card or submit it to the president before the opening of this item. A limit of 3 minutes per person and/or 5 minutes for the spokesperson of a particular group may be imposed. It is requested that comments be directed to the board as a whole. Comments that are determined to be irrelevant, repetitious, offensive, inflammatory, willfully disruptive, or deemed to be personal attacks will not be permitted. At this time, I do not have anyone in the office, nor do I have any communications via email.
Thank you, Ms. Wonder. So we will move on to, being that there are no public comments, we will move on to item number 10, which is adjournment. So we are adjourning this meeting at 10:54 a.m.